Bart, Lien, welcome to Waterstones and congratulations on winning the Costa Book of the Year.
Thank you so much.
It's a real privilege to be able to speak to both of you about this book. It is so obviously a work that involves both of you, and I suppose that's the first question I wanted to ask about putting this book together based on interviews and research.
Yeah.
Was that difficult? Was it about trying to put together and piece together memories and facts?
Yeah. Well, the book plays out in a way over all of Lien's life, but it also plays out very intensely over 1 month at the beginning of 2015. And when I came away from that month, when I came back from the Netherlands to Oxford, I had that sense of, I just want to capture what happened to me. And then the challenge was, how do you make that work at the level of a book? And pretty early on, I thought I want to tell my story as well, because I don't feel that I'm just able to live myself into the experience of an 8-year-old girl. I want to bring in the fact that, I'm a compromised narrator of that. But yeah, it took a lot of jigging around to get the thing actually to click, which hopefully it has.
And Lien, you had a very good question right near the beginning of the book, which was this idea of motivation. Yeah. Why tell this story? Why tell it now? Do you feel that you've got a satisfactory answer from Bart during the process of this book?
Yeah.
Because obviously he does an amazing job of telling your story, but as you say, you've opened it wider, and there is this idea of looking at Europe in general, and particularly looking at Europe now, and wondering what this story has to say about the world that we live in today. For you, Bart, what have you learned during this journey?
Well, one of the things that actually happened during that month was that there were the Charlie Hebdo attacks. And every synagogue or every Jewish site I went to had white police boxes outside it to protect it. So I think anti-Semitism, which had felt such a distant thing to me when I was younger, suddenly felt like it was coming back again. And that was combined with this sort of far-right rhetoric that was coming into the world, anti-Muslim rhetoric. So the story about needing to be able to understand people from a different culture felt to me more pressingly relevant in 2019 than it might have done 20 years earlier. So I hope the book gives some message about needing to connect, needing to empathise.
And Lien, obviously you have lived through the Second World War and seen all the changes that have happened in Europe since then. What is your feeling about how Europe has changed in that time?
Yeah, I'm very happy that this book can be a contribute to the situation now for some children. There are so many children who are in flight or separated from their parents, and I think my experience at last are very good. So it is very important for children to know where they belong, to whom they belong. It's more important.
And that taps right into the title of the book, the cutout girl, and that image has a few different meanings through the book. Sometimes it's about being separated from your family, sometimes it's about not having those boundaries, being in free fall, not being in control. You've been through so much in this book, far too much for us to cover in a short chat, but I just wondered whether the process of this book allowed you to, I guess in a way, feel more connected to your family and your story than ever before.
It's in a way it is history, and I live my life now. It's a good life. And, I think I have experiences that I can understand people and talk with a lot of people.
The fractures that happened between families and groups, because it was about your own family, Bart, and this big fracture that happened between Lien and your family. Again, has this book in some ways repaired that break and that damage?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lien would say it can never be totally repaired, but it was very moving that when we had the Dutch launch of the book, my uncles and wider Van Es family came and their children came, and they all feel that the book has been really helpful to them and has helped them to understand what happened in the family. And Lien's youngest son, Arje, was there as well with his family. So I think it really has brought understanding. My parents worried at one stage, that it might actually expose the family to kind of critical views while they'd been so brave, but I think actually people have been very generous in the way they've read the book, so I think it has brought people together, yeah.
I think for a lot of people reading it, it's almost impossible to understand what it was like to live at a time where it was necessary to shield complete strangers from the authorities at the time. And my big question on finishing the book was to wonder if the same thing happened today, whether people would behave in the same way. The fractures that we see developing at the moment in Europe, that rise of far-right rhetoric or populism, do we think that if there was a crisis like that, that the people of 2019 would behave in the same way as the people in 1940s?
I think if you forget the past, that is genuinely a danger. So, and I think there's a slight risk now that we're a generation away from what happened during the war, and this rise in fake news and a kind of skepticism about democracy. People suddenly start saying, "Oh, well, it's really all the same whether you kind of live under a dictatorship or whether you live in our sort of useless democracy." I think those kind of opinions are really dangerous, and obviously one book's not going to make any difference, but it's one attempt at getting people to remember what can happen if people go for simple solutions when the world isn't simple.
The majority of the Canadian are not able to tell one name of the concentration camps. It's unknown.
Yeah.
So people are forgetting what happened.
It is about, again, going back to what you said at the beginning of the book, about people's stories and personalising them, isn't it? So that people understand these are not statistics. It's not just simply a list of names, real people and the things that they went through. This book is a fantastic way, I think, for people to understand not just your story, Lina, but also your family story and even what you're going through today with your own family.
No, absolutely.
Well, it's an incredible book. Thank you so much for the time to talk briefly about it, and wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.